in the heart of a dense and verdant forest, nestled between the mighty rivers, lay the village of Umwara, a land whispered about in neighboring towns, not just for its fertile lands and wise elders, but for an ancient, unbreakable rule passed down for generations. Never lend salt after sunset. Few questioned the saying. It was carved into wood at the village entrance and spoken. In low tones during moonlit nights, those who dared ignore it had either vanished or were too broken to speak. But time, as it often does, dulled memory, and one fateful night, a girl named Adaora did the unthinkable. Adaora was 17, spirited and beautiful, with eyes like burnt mahogany and a smile that could soften even the hardest heart. Her skin was the color of rich clay, glowing under the sun, and her laughter often echoed across the compound, making even the sternest elders smile. She lived with her widowed mother, Nana, a respected herbalist, on the outskirts of Umwara, their home. Surrounded by kola nut trees and fragrant herbs, was known to villagers who came seeking healing and wisdom. Nana was a woman of few words, and even fewer smiles, weighed down by the loss of her husband, Ozo, to a mysterious illness. Ozo's death was a wound that never fully healed. One evening, long ago, he had lent a pinch of salt to a passerby. That night, he returned home with a fever. By morning, he was gone. His body was buried with salt scattered around the grave. Her custom, but Nana never again spoke of that night. Adaora, unlike her mother, was bold. She believed in logic and reason, not in village superstitions. Salt is salt, Mama, she would say, wrinkling her nose. Sunset doesn't change that. Nana would only shake her head, her face drawn and her voice grave. The sun guards more than just the sky. Child, after it sleeps, the earth stirs differently. Though Adaora loved her mother deeply, she saw her as a relic of an old world, a world of spirits, taboos, and silence. One morning, as Adaora prepared cassava flour by the hearth, Nana paused in her mixing of roots. Have you ever wondered, she asked, why the elders never eat salted food after nightfall? Adaora blinked. I thought it was because of old teeth. Nana chuckled bitterly. Teeth can rhyme, but spirits cannot. Salt after sunset carries memory, and spirits feed on memory. Adaora looked away, unsure whether to laugh or be unsettled. The day had been long and humid as twilight deepened. The sky flushed with hues of amber and indigo. The forest beyond the village exhaled cool mist, and crickets began their nightly song. Adaora sat outside weaving raffia mats when she heard hurried footsteps. Moments later, there was a knock on the door. It was Mama Ejime, their neighbor, clutching a small clay bowl to her chest. Her wrapper was loosely tied, her face glistening with sweat. Adaora Biko. She said breathlessly, I was boiling yam and ran out of salt. Just a pinch, I beg you. Adaora stood, startled. She glanced at the horizon. The last ray of sunlight was fading behind the great Azu hill. Now it's already late, Adaora said uneasily. Mama Ejime gave a nervous laugh. Salt won't grow legs and bring evil, my dear. Just a pinch. Nana appeared at the doorway, her eyes hard and piercing. Tell her no. Adaora turned, confused. But Mama, the sun has slept. So must the salt. Mama Ejime shifted uncomfortably. Please, Nana, I won't sleep well if my children go hungry tonight. Just a pinch. Adaora hesitated. Her heart warred between fear of disobedience and compassion for hungry children. With trembling hands, she poured a small amount of salt into the bowl. Nothing bad will happen, she whispered, almost as if convincing herself. She handed the bowl to Mama Ejime, who gave a grateful nod and hurried off. That night, the wind howled louder than usual. It beat against carrying with it whispers and distant cries. A firewood in the hearth cracked sharply, and somewhere in the distance, a hyena laughed a deep, mocking sound. Adaora couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the moment she handed over the salt. In the silence of the night, Nana whispered, "The salt knows." At dawn, the village stirred as usual. Roosters crowed, smoke rose from cooking huts, and children chased goats through narrow paths. But something was off. Adaora stepped outside and gasped. The mortar her mother used to pound herbs lay cracked in two, clean down the middle. Nana stood before her, her hands clenched. Her face was pale. It was whole last night, Adaora whispered. Nana didn't respond. She knelt and touched the crack. The spirits have awakened. They never forget. Adaora felt a cold shiver run through her. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Later that day, odd things began to happen. Chickens spun in circles until they collapsed dizzy. A goat walked backward from the river to the village square, and Mama Ejine's youngest son, Kalu, developed dark boils on his tongue. He opened his mouth to cry, but only blood spilled out. The villagers gathered, murmuring in fear. The elders met beneath the great Iroko tree. Its roots dug deep into the earth. Its leaves whispered secrets even the living feared. It has happened again, muttered the oldest elder, Dyke, his voice gravelly. We warned them, said another, but still, someone lent salt. After sunset, Dyke said, shaking his head. They always break the rule. Nobody spoke, but the trees swayed unnaturally. The forest had eyes, and it never forgot. That night, Adaora sat with her mother by the fire. The flames danced, casting long shadows on the walls. Is it because of me, Mama? She whispered. Then I looked at her, sorrow deep in her eyes. Salt is sacred. It holds memory, and at night, memory becomes a beacon. Spirits don't need doors. You invited them. Adaora buried her face in her hands, and the wind outside howled once more. That night, Adaora dreamed of salt. It was everywhere, pouring from the sky like rain, seeping through the cracks of the earth, spilling from her hands no matter how tightly she clenched them. The air was thick with it, and from the white mist, voices called her name. Adaora, Adaora. She turned, but saw no one, only shadows shifting between trees, eyes glowing like hot coals. She woke with a start, drenched in sweat. The night was still and oppressively quiet. Even the crickets had stopped singing. Outside, a soft rustle. Adaora rose and tiptoed to the window. The moon was veiled behind clouds, casting the compound in a silvery gloom. Her heart pounded as she noticed movement near the cola trees. A figure stood there, still watching. She strained her eyes. It was Mama Ejine. Only something was wrong. Her head was tilted at an unnatural angle. Her arms hung limply, as if the joints no longer remembered how to hold themselves. And then she moved not walking, but gliding toward the house. Adaora staggered back, slamming the wooden shutter. Mama, she cried. Then I was already awake, holding a smoldering bunch of herbs. She has come. Who do you mean? Adaora's voice shook. The one who took Uzo, Nana said. She always returns through the one who asked. A soft knock echoed through the hut. Then another, slow, deliberate. Adaora's breath caught in her throat. Nana moved to the door and pressed the herbs against the wood. Smoke curled around the frame. Don't speak. Don't move. The knock came again, and with it, a whisper as soft to understand, but unmistakably calling Adaora's name. The herbs hissed and sparked. Then a muttered in a language older than the village itself. Then silence. The air grew still. The night exhaled. The knocking stopped. When morning came, the sky was pale and heavy. The earth itself seemed weighed down. Adaora and Nana stepped outside. The cola tree was dead. Its leaves were flower withered, its bark split open like the mortar before it, and on the ground, written in salt, were the words. She broke the night. 3 days had passed since the dead cola tree and the salt-written message. The villagers of Umwaro were uneasy, speaking in hushed tones, casting wary glances at Adaora as though she carried a sickness in her shadow. Children were pulled indoors when she passed, and even the birds seemed to stop chirping when she walked by. But the worst was yet to come. On the 4th morning, as dawn crept over the village, Nana summoned Adaora into the inner chamber of their hut. The air inside was thick with incense. The walls were lined with ancient gourds and dusty scrolls of Sabidi symbols. In the center sat a mirror unlike any Adaora had ever seen. Its frame was carved from ebony wood, twined with tiny bones. The glass shimmered strangely, as if filled with swirling smoke. "This is the mirror of Nsochi," Nana said gravely. "It sees truth, even when truth hides." Adaora knelt, trembling. The mirror pulsed faintly. "Look!" As Adaora leaned in, the mirror's surface rippled, then cleared. She saw herself not in the present, but the moment she handed salt to Mama Ijime behind her. Unseen at the time, a dark mist slithered from the corner, coiling like a serpent. The image shifted. Now she saw Mama Ijime returning home, the salt in hand. As she stirred it into the yam pot, the mist entered the house and curled around, the pot like a lover embracing a secret. Then the mirror flashed white. A scream echoed through the room. Adaora fell back, gasping. The smoke in the air thickened, the incense turning sour. Nana caught her. "You saw it. The shadow of Eriga. Eriga, the one who feeds on borrowed memory. She follows Salt after sunset, rides her like a canoe to cross into our world." Adaora's skin crawled. "There must be a cleansing," Nana continued, "or Umwaro will bleed Salt and forget its name." By dusk, Nana had summoned the elders. They came reluctantly, bearing staves etched with generations of protection runes. The fire at the village square roared as if knowing its flames might soon be tested. Elder Dyke, his eyes clouded with age and knowing, pointed at Adaora. "Did she lend it willingly?" Nana answered, "Yes." The elders murmured. One drew a circle in the dirt with his staff. Another began to chant softly. Adaora stood firm. "I didn't mean to harm anyone. I only wanted to help." Dyke's gaze was heavy. Intentions are feathers in the wine when taboos are broken. Elder Ngozi stepped forward. The salt must be returned, the debt reversed, or the spirit will claim what was borrowed, multiplied. But the salt was used, Adaora whispered, and another offering must be made in its place. A life, she asked. No, something deeper, memory, a name, a face. We must take it to the Grove of Whispers. There the spirit can be bargained with. Nana nodded. "We leave at moonrise." They left as the village slept, wrapped in silence. Adaora, Nana, and 3 elders entered the forest, their lanterns casting flickers of gold on the tree trunks. The deeper they walked, the quieter it became until even their footsteps seemed swallowed by moss and shadow. They arrived at a clearing encircled by twisted trees, whose bark resembled faces mid-scream. At the center was a shallow pool, black and still. On its surface, faint whispers floated, incomprehensible but beckoning. Elder Ngozi began the ritual. Adaora stepped forward. She held a piece of cloth one her father had worn. A memory, a thread of his name. "I offer this," she said, voice shaking. "Take it instead." The pool rippled. Then, from its depths, a sheep emerged, slender, pale, eyes like smoke. "The spirit of Eriga," he hissed. "Memory cannot be traded. It must be torn." Before Adaora could step back, a wine rose and yanked the cloth from her hands. The pool surged upward, slapping her chest. Pain lanced through her head, images of her childhood splintered. Her father's laughter faded like mist. She fell to her knees, weeping. "Did you take?" The spirit vanished, leaving behind only silence. Nana held her daughter close. You gave part of yourself. The village will breathe a little easier. But I can't remember his face. You saved others from forgetting everything. When they returned to Umwaro, the air was different, lighter. The chickens no longer danced madly. Kalu's boils had vanished. The goat walked forward again, but Adaora walked slowly, her steps burdened. People cheered. Elders nodded. Only she and Nana knew what it had cost. The mortar was still cracked, the cola tree still dead, but no new signs of Erica came. Until the 7th night, Adaora began hearing things again. This time, not from outside but within. When she blinked, she saw faces not her own. She would speak and forget the words she had just said. She told Nana, I think the spirit left something behind. That night, she woke to find herself walking not in her home, but at the riverbank. In her hand was a pouch of salt. She threw it into the river and screamed, No more! The wind answered, You borrowed what you did not own. You returned what you did not understand. She collapsed. When dawn came, she was found asleep at the river's edge. Tears crusted to her cheeks. The elders convened again. Nana stood beside them. We cannot risk another. Said Dyke, the taboo must be bound in more than just memory. From that day, every home in Umwaro carved a new symbol beside their doors. Salt was kept locked in iron urns after sunset. Elders passed new chants to the young. Memory itself became sacred, and Adaora, she never spoke of that night again. She walked the village with grace and sorrow. She had lost something no spirit could return, but in doing so, she had restored the balance. At the entrance of Umwaro, beneath the old wooden sign, new words were burned into the wood. Never lend salt after sunset, for the night remembers everything. Thanks for watching. Kindly comment where you're watching from. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe, like, and share it to see you in our next video.